Ugh. Hey there YouTube, how's it going? Goon here, finally coming at you guys again with another video today going over the J1A-S, a absolutely integral part of Acronym's catalog, and I'm very excited to be doing a review on it. It's been a long while since I've made a video, about 2-ish months, and I could get into why I've been gone for 2 months, but just a few reasons. I mean, my room is yellow now, not blue. I've had stuff going on within my family. I just graduated college, amongst other things, and that's made it hard to find the drive to make a video, but here we are today. I'm really excited to be making a video for you guys and going over, like I mentioned, an absolutely amazing piece. The J1A is the de facto acronym item. You can argue with me on that, but it is truly the de facto acronym item. It's been a part of almost every collection since the company's inception, and the design principles that they impart onto the J1A can be found across many other jackets, and the amount of iterations that they've done with the J1 specifically is just insane. And the kind of nuanced nature of its history is super cool to look at, which we'll be getting into. On top of the history, we will be getting into the fabrication of this piece, the Stotz material, briefly at least. And then we will be getting into all the details, functionalities, quirks, and all of that stuff regarding this 2013-2014 garment. At the very end, I'll be getting into a couple of ways that I styled it, and then just overall pros and cons as well. So without further ado, let's get into the J1A-S. So I was kind of talking about it a little bit before with the history, but the history of the J1A is kind of insane. And to be completely honest, if I don't hit every note, I just ask for your forgiveness. The J1A originally was known as the Type 2371 when it came out with Kit 1 back in 2002. If you saw my very first video about the history of Acronym, the J1A was a part of Kit 1, like I was just mentioning, and the Kit 1 was the first retail piece that Acronym really just put out there for the market. It says in the description of the J1A if you look on their website, but the actual piece was being labored over back in like 1999 to about 2001 before it finally had its actual version, the 2371, come out in 2002. The original piece was a Gore-Tex jacket in a white construction, and it was very proto in terms of other Acronym stuff that's out there today. But since then, we've got so many different iterations of a J1 that I cannot even count it. And then on top of having just different iterations of this silhouette right here, there are also garments from the really early days that still have J1 attached to the name, but they don't look anything like this. The first ones that come to mind are the J1PL, the J1 Packlight, I suppose, as well as the J1N, and those don't look anything like this. But if we look at other proto-Acronym J1s, there's the J1 Windstopper, which is a really cool piece that a lot of people like nowadays. And before the S variant that we have right here, Stotz, Acronym used Epic cotton as their go-to Ventile cotton, and the J1E is a really sought-after piece as well. Very cool in terms of detailing and overall construction. There are a lot of big bopper Acronym pieces. The J1 Windstopper, like I just mentioned, is one of them, but the other one that immediately comes to mind is the J1 LP, otherwise known as the J1 Loro Piana, because it is constructed of a full Loro Piana wool shell in this gray construction, and it is a gorgeous, interesting looking garment. And going from the garments back then to now, we've seen a lot of slight changes to the overall silhouette that have turned it into what it is today. And what we've got today are garments like the J1L GT, which is still available on their site, as well as the J1 GT KP, otherwise known as the Gore-Tex Kojima Productions garment, the Death Stranding collaboration, as well as the very secretive release of the J1E, otherwise known as the J1 Experimental, not Epic Cotton, the J1 Experimental, in its white coloration and unique feature list. And just listing off, I don't know, like 4 or 5 different versions of the J1 only touches the iceberg in terms of all of the other ones that come out. I might, do a little slideshow of ones that have also come out that are very cool looking. But the amount of iterations that the J1 has seen compared to the rest of the Acronym catalog when it comes to jackets is just insane. This has had so many different iterations that it is just mind-blowing. I mean, the one that currently came out, the, I guess, most recent normal Acronym J1 is the J1 GT, and that is a generation 2.2 model, and it's had a ton of other 0.1, 0.2 iterations that came before it in terms of Gore-Tex, that type of thing. And that's a Gen 2 garment. You don't typically see a lot of Gen 2 stuff when it comes to Acronym garments. And even then, that is a little bit hard to categorize because this garment isn't a Gen 1 or a Gen 2, it's a Gen 6, which is just mind-boggling. The J1 has practically every feature that Acronym has ever put onto a jacket, but it still doesn't look crazy or over the top. I mean, in some respects it does, but it's not, you know, just way too crazy, like too costumey to actually just go out and wear. We'll be getting into that a little bit more with the features and that kind of thing, but the J1 is like Acronym. It came out in 2002, still comes out to this very day. It's made very similarly to how it was when it was originally made. It's just that I think back in 2018, they decided to change the production from Europe and Czech Republic to China for this piece in particular, as well as the P30s, which are another popular Acronym item. So now that I've got the history out of the way, I can get into what the acronym means. J1A-S means J1 or Jacket 1. A means Alpha, and the J1 has the J1B as well, which means Beta or Basic, whatever you prefer. That is the more slick back, a little bit more simple variant that's a little bit more pulled back. I'll have images right here that you can see. That's what B typically means when it comes to a jacket. And then S is Stotz, which we can get into right now. So you've seen Stotz with some of my other pieces, the P26S as well as the J30S. Stotz is Acronym's go-to cotton material that they like to use for a majority of their jackets as well as pants. Stotz is a ETA-proof ventile cotton, which essentially means that when the water hits the garment, it soaks up and kind of contracts so that more water doesn't seep through. So what you essentially get is a jacket that has a really hard time wetting out, but it's still kind of, it can get cold, it can get like a little bit soggy, a little bit damp, but it won't, you know, just become this big wet mess like a normal cotton piece would. The thing about a ventile cotton is that it's going to be a lot stiffer, a lot more rigid accordingly, a lot hardier. It is a military grade fabric, so it has all of those qualities. But with that in mind, because it is such a stiff fabric, the piece has to be articulated and have certain stitches and that type of thing accordingly so that it can move on the body without, you know, just like getting really tight and uncomfortable to wear. Now that I've got the history of the jacket as well as the acronym out of the way, as well, you know, fabrication, that type of thing, we can get into the description of the jacket, which I will put up here. The one interesting detail about the description in my eyes is the fact that it is a Generation 6.0 jacket, and please don't ask me what the other 5 generations are because I have no idea what that is, but it's really cool that it's had that many iterations beforehand, public or not, and I think it adds a little bit of mystery to the piece overall. So that's the history, that's the fabrication, that's what the acronym means. Now we can finally get into the piece from head to toe, get into what makes the J1 and why it is such a popular jacket. And before we get into that, I also want to mention that I'm probably going to be comparing this one to the most recent iteration so we can just kind of see a contrast between the, you know, how it used to be back then and how it is now. So starting with the piece overall, the J1A-S is a relatively wide-bodied garment, and to compare it to the more recent iterations that are GT, KP, etc., those are a lot slimmer in terms of profile. Back in the day, a lot of the J1s tend to be a much more boxy cut because they were intended to be worn with a layer under it. And what's funny is that nowadays, the more slim variants are also supposed to be worn as a layer with something under it. But that being said, this is still wide so that it accounts for that, but it doesn't necessarily have any of the auxiliary functions that did. It's just wide in the cut so that you can wear stuff under it to keep you warm. It doesn't have the zip-in functions that the newer variants have. On top of just being wider, it's also a bit shorter than current garments, and I really like the overall fit and cut of that accordingly. It's something that I really enjoy when it comes to the silhouetting of a piece. So that's just like an overall look at the jacket's silhouette. Now we can get into the specific details. So if we start up at the very top, we have the hood, which is really cool, and it has acronym touches to it that make it different than a normal hood would be. First thing that you're going to notice is that the hood is detachable. It is a button system that goes around the entirety of the neck, and it attaches itself to the collar accordingly. With that in mind, however, the hood doesn't sacrifice any function while being a detachable hood. The hood still has a draw cord at the back as well as draw cords that are inside the hood too, so that you can fasten it down to your head shape and so that you can get a full range of visibility while you're wearing the jacket in inclement conditions. I think this is really great because typically, you know, attachable or detachable or packable hoods tend to be a little bit chicken shit when it comes to the actual quality of them. Pardon my French. Detachable hoods tend to lose a little bit of their functionality because they're, you know, detachable, so they can't really integrate with the rest of the garment all that well. But this does the complete opposite and uses the detachable part not only as a benefit, but then also keeps all the retention of function while also still being, you know, detachable. It's, you know, a mouthful, but it's really cool. If you've seen one of their Acronym jutsu videos, the J1 jutsu video being one of their most popular ones, then you know that you can take the hood off in a very cool way by taking your opposite hand to the opposite side of the neck and then pulling it around your head, then being able to stuff it down into this asymmetric pocket that we have on the front, which we will be getting into later, and it's something that I do all the time. Typically, I like to wear this jacket without the hood on. While the hood is cool in its down form as well as its up form, and the functionality is great there, I just like the more clean-cut design of having it hood off. So if I get the chance to use the hood or keep it on for the aesthetic purposes, I usually do it when it's, you know, a little bit gray out, a little bit ugly, that type of thing. But in almost any other situation, it's usually, you know, hood off, tucked away, that type of stuff. Moving directly down from the hood, we have the collar that it is attached to, and it is a stand collar, something that they use across a majority of their other garments, like the J36, as well as the J27, that type of thing. The stand collar is really nice, and it's a really flattering silhouette, and on the collar itself, we have the mag tape, as well as the logo tape Velcro patches. The garment itself comes with a logo tape, which has the Acronym logo on it, as well as a blank tape if you want to go, you know, incognito mode, as well as a mag tape, which is what you use for attaching headphones to. Like I've mentioned in other videos that use the mag tape, the headphone functionality with the mag tape is actually really cool nowadays because AirPods and Bluetooth headphones are taking over a bit more, and they work really, really well on these mag tape bits because they can kind of anchor there and nothing really knocks them or moves them compared to a corded headphone, which, you know, has a cord that runs across your entire body. The magnets are relatively strong, but they can, you know, still fall off with enough force, enough of a flick, that type of thing. So it works well. It's not fantastic, but it works well, and I use it in a lot of scenarios. I use it a ton, actually, and I'm not that scared about it falling off. So just wanted to put that out there. Moving out from the neck, we get into the shoulders of the piece, which compared to all of the other Acronym garments that I reviewed are a little bit simpler in terms of construction. These don't have a necessarily articulated cut to them compared to other shoulders across other pieces where, you know, it's just like the single shoulder dart and comes in. This is a very typical sleeve detail, which is just 2 round holes for the sleeves to be sewn onto, and it works really well for this kind of boxier silhouette that the garment has. I think that it works fine, and you don't lose any range of motion while you're wearing it. The garment is not devoid of articulation, however, but we will get into that shortly. Moving back from the shoulders to the middle of the jacket, we have the zipper column, which has actually seen a lot of changes over the many iterations of the jacket. The zipper column on this jacket is kind of simple, but still very complicated. We have a single typical zipper column that runs from the very bottom of the jacket up to the top, as well as 2 coverings for the zipper column itself, one with, you know, the buttons, and then on the other side of the jacket we have these interesting button columns that are in little sets of 2 that are at the top, middle, and bottom of the jacket. It's relatively asymmetrical as well. It doesn't run completely single file. The middle button row is slightly to the left, creating this cool little visual dichotomy, and I really like it. It's actually a really cool little look for the jacket when it's, you know, open and not completely zipped up. The other thing too that's nice is that when you want to be able to wear the jacket with a little bit of a flare out at the bottom, and you don't want it to be, you know, completely zipped up, you want a little bit of ventilation, that type of thing, you can use the buttoning system instead of the actual zipper system, so you can get like a little bit of ease of use in that sense. On top of that, however, the button system works really, really well with the Interops function, which we will then be getting into like later when I get to the back of the jacket. But the button system is very integral for the Interops, but it also works well just as a aesthetic kind of thing. The zipper column also has one of the Acronym functionalities that we all know and love, which is called the escape zipper. The escape zipper essentially allows you to be able to break the zipper track at the top of the jacket and be able to peel it open in a very quick, you know, ninja-like manner. I've said in other videos, but my main usage for this escape zipper is when I'm sitting down into a car and I can't zip the jacket easily while I'm sitting down. So just being able to pop it at the top and peel it open tends to be a bit easier than trying to, do it in the more typical way. On top of that, however, it works well to just be able to pop it and then peel it open super quickly if you want to get out of it in a very easy way. And the escape zipper works really well in that manner. And it looks cool too. I think that that's an awesome little dichotomy that it has, being super functional and really cool. If we move directly out from the zipper column back to the sleeves of the jacket, one sleeve in particular, we have one of the defining features of the J1A-S, a reason that a ton of people like this jacket in particular, which is the faux leather washable sleeve with a MA1 pocket on the side. Under the faux leather sleeve, which is washable, like I mentioned, you can throw this into the washing machine with this leather on it. There's the MA1 pocket, which is, decently functional. If you've had a bomber jacket, you know what a sleeve pocket is like. You can get into it relatively easily. It's about 3 or 4 inches long and about a couple inches wide, and you can get relatively small stuff in there. I use it particularly for my AirPod case, and it has a slight covering under the faux leather sleeve, so it has this kind of cool interaction there. On top of that, it has AquaGuard zips, so you get that little bit of extra water protection for whatever's in that pocket. Speaking of AquaGuard zippers, if we move back to the body of the jacket, we have the 2 diagonal zippers that run from the middle of the chest down to the armpits. These are one of the coolest kind of implicit functions that this J1 has, because not only is it a zipper for a small item that you want to keep in there because it is a pocket, but it is also a ventilation system with the netting that they have in place. These diagonal pockets have a small drop portion that sits at the center of the chest where you can put small items, again, like an AirPod case or something of similar size in there. But then as you get down towards the armpit, the pocket starts to cut itself off, and then it solely acts as a ventilation system because there's a slight netting behind it. So if you ever get hot in the jacket, you can unzip it using the 2 ways that the AquaGuard zipper has to not only be able to get your armpits nice and, aired out, but then you can also keep stuff in the pocket itself. Not a lot of other Acronym jackets that I own have a, pretty easy ventilation system to use, or a ventilation system at all, and this one uses it in such a cool implicit way that I am just attached to it easily. I'm also the guy who likes to keep my jacket on in a majority of situations, even though this has, a sling and I can don it in an easy way. I like to keep it on, so by using this ventilation system, it's really nice to have something to just, want me to keep the jacket on in a majority of scenarios. If we move directly down from the diagonal zipper pockets and ventilation system, we can see the other huge, very identifiable feature on this jacket, which is the large asymmetrical chest pocket that is on the front. This has been on the J1 since its inception. It's easily one of the most fun, one of the most usable factors that the jacket has in its entire feature list. It is an awesome little function. The pocket itself is very, like sandwich sized, a bit like, imagine like a very conventional sandwich. It's, pretty sandwich sized, and it is able to get a wide variety of stuff in there, but on top of it being, very usable from the obvious sense of just opening this up and putting stuff in from top down, there are also other pockets on the pocket itself so that you can use it in a variety of ways. I typically like to use the main pocket for the hood that goes around the neck, but on top of that, we have a very small mezzanine pocket that's accessible from the side that you can put stuff in. I usually like to use that for my glasses. And then on the zipper column, we actually have another hidden pocket that goes under the entirety of this main pocket as well that is relatively large, and I like to put stuff in there as well. So you really have 3 pockets when it comes to this one big pocket that you can just, see outright. On top of those 3 pockets, you also have a small netting detail on the inside of the pocket itself that you can keep something tight and, up against your body with. I think back in 2013, 2014, when phones were a little bit smaller, this was particularly useful for a phone if you wanted to keep it in that netting. Nowadays, it's a little bit more difficult. You can use it for stuff like, an AirPod case or sunglasses or that kind of thing, but it's a relatively slim pocket and it still works pretty well to this day, just in a different sense. On top of this, it also has a slight slit inside that netting as well, presumably so that you could thread a set of headphones through that slit and then up to your neck through the jacket itself, so they, unexposed to the elements and just run through the jacket. Moving back out to the sleeves of the jacket, we can see the elbows, which have a ton of articulation, as well as the sleeve hitches on the jacket. This is the main location for all the articulation on the jacket. This is where you get all the detail. It really kind of creates an interesting three-dimensional shape, and it allows for a wide range of motion because the way that the elbows articulate, it makes it so that the sleeve doesn't really leave your wrist while you're wearing it, and makes it so that it doesn't really get constricted at any point. Like I was also mentioning, the sleeve hitches are at the elbows, and this is a unique Acronym function. The way that the sleeve hitches work is that if you want to roll up your sleeves from your wrist to your elbows, you can use this sleeve hitch to attach to the Velcro that is on the cuff, and then be able to hold the sleeve in place at your elbow and be able to do whatever you need to do without, getting your sleeves wet, that kind of thing. This works particularly well on this jacket. How much I actually use it, because how many times am I going into water with my sleeves on, is pretty, minute, but the attention to detail there is appreciated, and I still really like it. Then if we move back onto the body of the garment, we have two more diagonal zippers for our hands, the AquaGuard hand pockets. These are a very typical hand pocket. They don't run to the back of the body like other Acronym garments, but they work well for just keeping your hands in them, and I like it for that reason. The final details that we see in terms of the outer of the jacket are at the cuffs, where we have a Velcro cuff as well as a gravity pocket, interestingly enough. The Velcro cuffs work really well. They're, what you would typically see on a rain shell or something similar, but also kind of point towards the DNA of Acronym being a, snowboarding company designer before being able to do stuff like this nowadays, and these work really well. On top of the Velcro cuffs, however, there are also gravity pockets that sit within the sleeves themselves. These gravity pockets are relatively unique compared to other gravity pockets that I've reviewed on this channel before, mainly being that it doesn't have a zipper to be able to get easy access to the pocket overall. But the way that the gravity pocket works is by loading the pocket itself and then buttoning it. What you can do is you can have something on the inside of your sleeve that you can then easily get to by popping the button in a very Assassin's Creed Ezio Auditore way and letting the contents fall into your hand. On this jacket in particular, because it is devoid of that zipper that allows you to be able to directly access it, what you have to essentially do is load it kind of like a gun in a way by keeping your sleeve upright, putting the contents in while your fingers hold it open, and then buttoning it in that way. It's decent to use. I think if the contents that you're putting into the pocket are relatively small, it's really not that much of an issue to use. But since then, now that we have other jackets that actually utilize that zipper functionality, I much prefer that to this, but it's still fun to use nonetheless, and it actually works really, really well. It pops really easily whenever I'd like it to. So that's it for all of the details that are on the outside of the jacket, but now we can get into the few functions that are on the inside of the jacket that, just add on to the feature list overall. If we look at the inside, the first thing that you're going to be able to see is the jacket sling, the 3-point system that Acronym uses to be able to sling a jacket across your back. A jacket sling is not super unique in that other companies have used it in the past, typically in the backpack styling, but the way that Acronym does it is unique in their own specific way, and it's also easily my favorite version of a jacket sling that there is out there. The way that it works is that by using this 3-point system, by constricting the nylon, it folds the jacket together so it stays nice and tight, but then you can also put it across your back and then fasten the nylon strap really easily given its bungee quality, keeping it nice and tight up against your back while also out of the way, that kind of stuff. And then it also looks like a cape while you're at it. This makes it really easy to use, as I'm showing in the B-roll, and it makes it really nice to be able to not only use the jacket's vents so that you can get a little bit of air circulation, that type of thing, but then you can also keep it across your back if it's truly too hot and you just need to have the jacket on your back, out of the way, that kind of thing. Compared to the jackets of today, this one only has the jacket sling mounts on the inside of the jacket. A lot of the ones that, like I mentioned, are made today have jacket sling mounts that are on the direct equivalent on the outside, so that you can choose whether you want it on the inside or the outside, being up to you. But it still works really well on the inside, and it's a nice detail regardless. If we move directly down from the jacket sling, we can see this large zipper that runs on the medial portion of the body. This zipper is for the Interops function, which is another very unique, pizzazzy Acronym detail that they like to use. The way that the Interops function works is that it allows you to be able to interface an Acronym bag with your jacket, kind of creating one cohesive unit. The main instance that you will be using it in, however, is if you pack your jacket into do an Acronym bag, you can take the jacket out of the bag and then don the jacket over the bag, but then use this Interops zipper to be able to interface the jacket and be able to have access to it while the jacket is technically over your bag. I hope that made some sense. It kind of sounded a little bit rambly. I like to use this function a lot. It's definitely interesting for the look. It's a lot more useful in rainier scenarios and that type of thing, but it's really cool nonetheless. Like I was mentioning, this works really well in rainy situations because this kind of creates an extra layer for your backpack to be able to be protected by. I like to use it in that scenario the most because I like to, just kind of protect the contents of my bag a little bit better. The only downsides to the Interops function is that it really well and truly works with Acronym bags, but has difficulty with other, Techwear bags. And then on top of that, when you have the bag on under your jacket, unless it's super, super profile and has a very slim look to it, you will get a little bit of a hunchback effect while the bag is under your jacket. I don't really mind this, however, but it is something that might peeve a couple of people. It's not quite the look you want to be going after, but it's there. The zipper also has the AquaGuard treatment to it, so you're getting a little bit of water protection. And then at the very bottom where the hem is, you have a button so that you can kind of close up the jacket while the Interops function is in use. If we keep with the hem of the jacket, we see the final functionality on the jacket overall, which is the Speedlock or the bungee cord hem that the jacket has. What this allows you to be able to do is tighten the hem of the jacket up against your body so that you get a more cropped, more to the body fit, particularly if you're in rainy conditions and you don't want your torso getting wet in any way, shape, or form. But on top of that, it also just works well as a way to change up the silhouette of the jacket. This already being pretty cropped and boxy, doesn't necessarily get a huge silhouette difference compared to some other jackets, but it still works well in being able to get a nice kind of pillowy cropped effect once it's up against your body. So those are the details of the J1A-S, crazy seminal jacket when it comes to the Acronym catalog. You cannot deny the overall power that this piece has, not only in this iteration, but across many of them. And seeing them in this instance right here, you can then compare it to a lot of the other jackets and be able to see the similarities, that type of thing, in the ways that they've been able to improve the jacket over time to what it is currently. And it's cool to see. So now that I've got all that other stuff out of the way, and I've said that phrase 5 times now, I can get into the styling of the jacket and how I would wear it. So I'm not gonna front. The J1A is a really cool piece. It's functional, it's a statement, it's, everything that you'd want in a jacket. That's kind of what they made it as. But in the very same respect that it's super specialized while also being general, it also is very specialized in terms of look, and therefore it's kind of hard to style it with a really wide spectrum of outfits. It definitely works well within the Techwear wardrobe, but it can be a little bit difficult outside of that, but these are the couple of ways that I style it, which definitely have a tech influence to them. So the first outfit that I have starts with the Makita Mesa Margiela sunglasses on top. I wear them in pretty much every outfit. That's my one-trick pony in terms of sunglasses. I've got the jacket. I've got these Hope Stockholm, Sweden, I think they're called the wind trouser pant in this black polyamide material. They kind of have that sheen to it. I really like that. And then I've got my black H&M combat boots. I really like this outfit overall because it really kind of creates very strong proportions while also being a full black construction. And then on top of that, the amount of different black materials that you're getting with this fit overall is really interesting. The jacket alone has 3 different types of black that you see on the piece overall, given the nylon bands that are on the zipper column, the AquaGuard zippers, all that type of stuff. But then you also get black leather on my shoes, as well as this sheen, this kind of nylon look with the pants. And I think that it kind of creates a really cool little flow overall with how many different types of blacks are on the fit. Again, the proportions are super strong. The boxy cut of the pants versus the boxy cut of the jacket, and then the crop on the pants allowing the boots to kind of stand on their own creates a really cool silhouette. And this is the sort of outfit that I would go to really easily when I wanted to wear this jacket. But it is also a little bit costumey, and I would definitely wear this for a night out, that type of thing, or in the winter months. But it's definitely pretty cool looking, just, also very particular in terms of an image. The second outfit I have is a little bit more athletic, and it's something that's a little bit more casual, but it is still very tech. Again, I have the Makita sunglasses on top. I've got the jacket. I've got a plain white t-shirt that I believe I got at the thrift store. I've got the P27H DS's, which I've reviewed on this channel, another pair of Acronym pants. And then on the bottom, I've got the Solomon 11 by BBS collaboration shoe, the Speed Cross 3 in this all white colorway that I have beat to hell having hiked as of recently. I like the look of this fit overall. It's kind of got this interesting casual nature to it, while also being a little bit futuristic in terms of like a silhouette and like an overall aesthetic. But it's not like costumey. It's not super try hard, but it still has these elements that are really unique in terms of silhouette and that type of thing. On top of that, given the really boxy nature of the jacket, the white shirt has a little bit of extra length compared to the overall length of the jacket itself, so you get that slight bit of layering action going on. And you can wear these with socks if you'd like, but I just wore them without socks because it's summer right now and it's hot, and I think sockless, the pants still look really nice. The thing I like about the Speed Crosses as well is that because they have that really kind of beat, dirty look to them, it kind of throws the overall image of the outfit in a slightly different direction. It doesn't look super clean. It has that kind of rugged, like well-used nature to it, while also being very futuristic, which is something that I like to mess around with sometimes. So that pair of shoes really adds on to the overall look of things accordingly. That being said, I think that this outfit really kind of plays to a very, Instagram friendly techwear sensibility, but I think that it still works really well and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's not like super outside of the box. So I just wanted to put that out there too. So history, functions, the acronym, the details, all that stuff. I think we're pretty much done. Let me just get into a couple of pros and cons about the jacket overall. So the pros in terms of the jacket, I mean, bro, this is the J1A. This is one of the coolest, most easy to use functional jackets that there are. So it is the complete definition of like function and fashion in the same sentence, and it works super well in that way. If you're into techwear, if you're into a more technical, futuristic kind of cyberpunk look, this is the jacket for you, and it works as the cream of the crop in terms of that aesthetic. So if you're looking for something that works in that look, this is it. But on top of that, you can also style it in a more avant-garde kind of way, given the construction and Stotz nature of this jacket in particular, and it makes it really fun to work around with accordingly. On top of the overall looks of the jacket, I think that the silhouette, this boxy cropped nature, is something that's relatively unique when compared to a lot of current day Acronym pieces, and it makes it look really cool on body and allows for layering in an interesting way, and I really like it for that reason as well. And then in terms of a couple of cons, which are really minute, the first thing that I want to mention is the overall button system is really, really cool in terms of looks, and I would actually put that as a pro, but the buttoning system, if you're using it with the Interops, that type of thing, can get a little bit complicated up towards the neck because of how many different buttons you're working with. There are plenty of times where I've tried to go across the neck from the zipper column to the other side, and I accidentally attach it to my neck because they're all in a semi-similar place and you can't really look down at it. So the button system can be a little bit hectic at times, but it's a minor qualm. The other thing too is that the gravity pockets are really fun to use still, and you can get the hang of using them, but really having a zipper entry for it like they've done in current iterations is a much better route for the gravity pocket overall. And using the holster styling is fun, but it's kind of like a relic of a bygone era, and I prefer being able to get stuff in using a zipper pocket on the wrist compared to using this holster styling. So there's that. So that is the J1A-S. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. This is a pretty simple, straightforward video. I wanted to try and make it that way, and thanks for tuning back in after, not making a video for so long. I have other stuff, like I mentioned before, my departure that I kind of wanted to get into. I want to do a couple of my vintage pickups that I've done recently, as well as some stuff that I've been able to get off the Essence sale during this sale period. So I might make those videos in the near future, depending on how this one goes and depending on if my computer shows up. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Vince, for letting me use this jacket. And without further ado, stay whatever. Peace.